Little slap in the face for National Guard members who have been helping deal with the pandemic across the country. More than 40,000 of them currently helping states test residents for the coronavirus and trace the spread of infections will face a hard stop on their deployments on June 24th. So we know ahead of time that they're going to be called back at that point. And the slap in the face isn't just that they're doing their duty. States are so thankful of all of the help that they provided, and they're going to be stopped from doing that long before their help is no longer needed. No, it's this. It's that a senior FEMA official acknowledged during a call that the June 24 deadline that we talked about means that thousands of members who first deployed in late March will find themselves with only 89 days of duty credit, one short of the 90-day threshold for qualifying for early retirement and education benefits under the post 9/11 GI Bill. Just a coincidence that they're going to be called back way premature and one day premature of when they'd get extra benefits for all of the work they've done, potentially exposing themselves to coronavirus and helping those who have been.
Well, they could just pop hydroxychloroquine every day and they'd be fine. It's pretty much the same as the extra benefits they would get. I thought this was the pro-troop party. It blows my mind that whenever mainstream media talks about the Republican Party and that they're kind of being nationalistic and giving lip service to the troops, that they don't bring up the fact that, for example, when Bernie Sanders was dealing with Veterans Affairs in the Senate, and he was the head of that, it's escaping me right now, but
Committee?
Committee, Jesus. And when he was the head of that committee in the Senate, he was going all in to give veterans more benefits, to ensure that more funding was provided for their health care, for resources for them when they return from war. John McCain was on the other side trying to slash many of those benefits. And they went back and forth and back and forth. And yet the Republicans are always portrayed as the pro-troop, pro-military party. Nothing is more pro-military than paying the military. And Donald Trump is trying not to pay the military.
Exactly. And I really hope that this becomes a bigger story. It's like maybe third or fourth tier in the news today. It is so obviously indefensible. And not just like I'm seeing it and I think that it's indefensible. Their reaction to the news coming out shows that they think it's indefensible. So, for instance, top National Guard and other federal officials that were on the call when it was announced didn't dispute that cutoff. They didn't raise the possibility of an extension. And since the news has been reported, the White House has not responded to multiple requests for comment for understandable reasons, because this looks really, really bad. And even on the call, that senior FEMA official said, "We would greatly benefit from unified messaging regarding the conclusion of their services prior to hitting the 90-day mark and the retirement benefit implications associated with it." So it's like, okay, this is going to be bad. Nobody's going to like it. Let's really get on message here about why we're doing this. And it's been a bit. There doesn't seem to be a message just yet. They think, I guess, they can keep their heads down and just weather this, and that's probably going to work, honestly.
And part of the way that this may not, get enough traction that it should in the media is because people in the military and the National Guard, they're hamstrung from really speaking out publicly, and so it's almost extra cruel, because Donald Trump and the Republicans can rob them of benefits that they've deserved and worked hard for and certainly put their lives at risk for, because basically he's the commander in chief and they're not allowed to speak out, at least, with their names publicly. And so they're able to kind of silently take away their benefits and under the cover of that kind of rulemaking. And so that's what makes it even kind of grosser to me.
Exactly. And also, so I'm primarily concerned about the fact that these people who have spent, they will have spent 89 days effectively out there helping, that they like, a lot of them probably signed up, not necessarily for those exact benefits, but for the benefits that would come from service. The idea that you would string them along literally as long as possible before cutting them loose right before those benefits, just sick, but also the consequence for the actual states. Governors and lawmakers in both parties have been pleading with the White House to extend the federal order for several more months or until the end of the year, warning in a letter to Trump that terminating those federal deployments early in the summer, just as states are reopening, quote, could contribute to a possible second wave of infection, because of course it could. We know that we need people doing the testing and doing the contact tracing as well. The federal government seems to have no interest in doing the raw hiring necessary to fill that. Now they're going to be taking away some of the people that are already in the field that could be doing that. Again, if you had if your going theory was the White House wants as many people to get coronavirus as possible, all of the news coming out day after day makes it harder and harder to fight against that obviously crazy belief. This is a great example of that. Now, the only sort of quasi-silver lining, one of the darkest silver linings I can imagine, is that while they will be one day short of those benefits, the National Guard, they have had a statement saying that the 90-day threshold is cumulative, meaning that if they are deployed again this year, then they could cross that threshold. And the thing is, because of how stupid and self-defeating this strategy is, they will almost certainly have to be deployed again later this year, because everything is being done, all the cards are being lined up for a devastating second wave when we will desperately need the help of these National Guard members again.
Well, you're assuming that there is any kind of that ensuring that there isn't a second wave is a priority for the Trump administration. It's only the perception that things are getting better that they care about. Mm-hmm. And so when they get to get rid of the National Guard members from this kind of service and then also save some extra pennies in cash in terms of their benefits, as they're screwing the National Guard over, it's a bonus for them because they want things to appear like they're better, because that's all Trump cares about. The whole presidency is marketing for him, and all of these government institutions, all of these agencies are arms of his marketing team. And we see that on a daily basis when it comes to his dealings with the coronavirus.
Yeah. And I think if it is just about controlling the perception, I mean, if people were reacting rationally to the number who have died, he would be terrified, I think, of a second wave.
But when do we ever react? When do people ever react rationally to death? I mean, we saw this with the Iraq War. If they don't see it in front of their eyes, it's really easy for governments to get away with atrocities. Yeah,
especially if the news is distracting them with, Obama gates and stuff like that and not acknowledging the number dead. Like, I believe that I think if you watch this show day by day, I'm being destroyed by how terrible the news is recently. I think I try to take it very seriously. I try to continually bring it back to what is most at stake here. But even my amount of coverage probably isn't actually, like, it doesn't rise to the level of the 737 crashing every single day. Fox News, like, if you were to just watch their coverage, the limited coverage that remains of coronavirus, because they've largely moved on, like, how many deaths would you say their outrage matches up with? Like,
I
5?
have people in my life who watch a lot of Fox News, older people, and they don't care. I mean, they just are. You hear Sean Hannity talk about reopen the economy, and then like 2 days later, you'll have a conversation with that person. They're like, we have to reopen the economy. I mean, it's truly like some sort of psychotic, or hypnosis or whatever. I mean, when there's no focus on deaths, none. And when you just make it about big line must go up, there's a huge fraction there's a huge fraction, major part of this country that just isn't thinking about that, and that has that's the direct consequence of propaganda that's widespread, specifically on Fox News.
I want to see a red hat with big line must go up. That's the whole thing.
Make big line up again.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.